Willie B finds victory lane for the first time since Daytona and grabs the points lead back. And now SVG goes for 4 in a row. Can anybody stop him? Hi, this is Brett McMillan. You're listening to the Pit Reporters. With me this week, Jeff Hammond from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and Bruce Martin from Speed Sport.
Welcome to the Pit Reporters on the Performance Racing Network. And now, here's your host, Brett McMillan.
Hey, welcome to the show. Glad to have Jeff and Bruce here. We got a lot to talk about, starting with Willie B. Finally got something good happening in the luck department, Jeff.
Yes, he did. I mean, he was, it's kind of like he's been Mr. Steady Eddie, but at the same time, you're waiting for him to kind of like get on a roll. We're headed toward the playoffs, and you were wondering when they were going to wake up. Well, they woke up the other day and performed the way you expect them to perform.
They've had just a lot of bad luck lately, Bruce. I mean, at Dover, they're running well, and all of a sudden got caught up in a wreck late in the race. At Indianapolis, they're running well. They run out of gas at the end of the race. This week, nothing bad happened to them. They had enough gas for him not only to get to the end of the race, but to do a burnout. So everything, the plan worked.
A lot of times people think fuel mileage races aren't exciting, but I don't know about you, but that had a lot of tension to it because you could hear in the crew chief's voice as he was radioing him. He's like, back it up. He was almost backing it up to the point where he's going to be in reverse. But it was really, there was a lot of tension there because honestly, you thought on the last lap or two, he's going to sputter and they're going to go, he's out of gas. But no, he made it all the way. And Jeff, being a former crew chief, how can you tell sometimes when your calculations show you're going to run out of fuel and you're still able to make it to the finish like he was able to do?
Well, if you're going to go all the way back to when I was a crew chief, it was more gut-wrenching than it is today because they have all the telemetry and the technology to be able to tell what they're doing, what they're burning as far as fuel. You know, back in the day, you were guessing. They're a lot more exact, and they know what they're telling him to do will affect the end game. As the thing is, when the guy's doing that, I think part of the equation is, did they get enough in to begin with so that everything plays out the way it is? And I think that's part of what the drama is all about. You know, Rudy Fugle sitting there, and he's done everything he can with his calculator. He's been beating on his engineers that are sitting to the right and left of him. And the next thing something goes wrong because that miscalculation, somebody did not quite do their job. Was it the gas man or was it the engineer? So
the other thing about that is he was also racing a couple of guys who also had to watch their fuel. So they couldn't really go full bore after him. So, but that still added to a lot of the drama. And especially at a track like Iowa, I've always liked that track. A lot of people seem to think it's out in the middle of nowhere. Well, that's part of the reason why I like that track is because it's great for the state of Iowa because I've always thought auto racing does better in smaller areas than when you take them to big cities. Yeah, the Chicago Street Race drew a crowd. I don't think it was a financial success, but it looked great. And that's what's great about the NASCAR schedules. You can have all those different things. Back to your point, however, there's a lot of people who always look at a fuel mileage race and think, well, the best guy didn't win. I don't think they can say that about William Byron, especially after the stretch he's had.
Well, the one thing I wonder about William Byron, and here's the thing, we all know, Jeff, that he basically learned how to race in iRacing. He was a computer guy that didn't have the experience starting as a small child in legend cars and working up that way. He started racing on computers. So I would imagine learning how to manage your fuel mileage has been something of a challenge for him because he hasn't had to do that for the bulk of his career as a racer. This is something that he's having to do now.
But there again, Brett, the thing you got to realize, he's got the best of the best to tell him what he needs to be doing. It's not like something.
But isn't it as a driver? I mean, I know you're not a driver, but isn't it a feel thing?
It is
that you've got to you got to understand a feel thing as a driver to manage how you're managing.
But when you're doing what you're talking about, and the angle you're trying to get to is, we've got more tools to help him know he's doing it right. When we say you got to save me a little bit, we're looking to gauge. We're able to tell how much he's in the throttle. How much is he running 3/4 throttle or is he running 7/8 throttle? Oh, wait a minute. There's something in between there. 13/16. You know what? We can throttle him back or we can throttle him up. We can tell him don't use too much brake. See, there's a lot of ways to help him realize I want to keep the momentum going. So just don't drive it in as deep. Save me some throttle. Save me fuel by getting off the throttle, but stay off the brake. So you get an opportunity to coach him into something he doesn't have to learn from all that other coming up through the ranks on the local short tracks like a lot of these kids are today. I mean, that's the beautiful part about what we've done in NASCAR at this point, and especially at the upper echelon, especially Cup, that we can help work him and teach him what that feel is.
But there's still a learning curve, right, Bruce?
Well, definitely, and I have heard this term used so often in various forms of racing where experienced drivers tell newcomers, always trust your butt, because that's what's going to tell you how the car feels a lot of times. And by having the ability to do that, by being able to process that, then you're able to tell how much do I need to feather here? How much can I go there? And it really is, that's why these guys are great at what they do, because they understand stuff that the average person doesn't really understand. How many times have we been traveling down the highway and we look at our fuel gauge and we want to get home? We're on a 6-hour drive or something. And you pass the last Shell station and you don't want to stop because you want to get home quick. And then all of a sudden you start looking and you're past E and it's like, oh dear God, I hope there's a fuel station coming up here because the last thing I'm going to get home a lot later if I run out of gas. I can only think that's a little bit of what it's like when you're driving a race car and you're running out of fuel.
Well, I mean, both of you've been around long enough, just like I have. You listen to what's going on coming from pit road to the driver. How many times, Brett, have you been on pit road and as soon as they roll off into pit road, what's the first thing you hear?
Save.
Yeah. So you've already put the driver.
Even their caution.
Exactly. You've already put the driver on notice. No excuse. I mean, don't think you're doing this by yourself. We're telling you right now, save fuel. And when you get out there and you start doing that pace and you talk about, getting that feel and using your butt, he just puts you basically in the school of how to save fuel. So you run a fuel stop and you do that every time. So when you get to the end of the day, you've got a rhythm. You've got an understanding of what I'm asking you to do. Because right now, part of the plan of the final stop, I'm going to give you 7 gallons of fuel. If the fuel man does his job and we give you 7 gallons of fuel, we've got it already factored in that we can do 2 green, white checkers. That's the maximum. But when you go off and into pit road, I need for you to save me fuel from that point on. Don't get out here and be showing you hiney and speeding up and doing something and passing somebody or getting into a silly race with somebody that doesn't factor in and make you burn more fuel. I mean, that's what part of the game is and why so many crew chiefs today are on the philosophy. I don't care where it is, full of fuel, whatever. You might save fuel just to practice with the driver.
Well, and it was interesting because I heard Larry Mack on Sirius this week talking about this, and he says the institution of the single lug in Cup is one of the reasons you're hearing so much about saving fuel, about fuel mileage races, because of the fact that tires now go on a lot faster than the fuel's going in the car. It used to be the other way around with the 5 lugs that you could fill the car faster than you could put the tires on. Well, now the tires are going on faster than your fuel in the car.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't have a 9-second pit stop and get it full. Okay. If you run it out of fuel and all of a sudden, you want to do a 9-second pit stop, you did not get it full. That's the reason why in normal pit stops, are around 11 seconds, 11 and a half. That's the normal deal when you got to go and fill it all the way up. Otherwise, you can look at picking up a second to second and a half on racetrack. As far as the distance, you can open that gap by doing an earlier pit stop and not get it full, but yet just getting your tires changed.
Oh, but Bruce, you're right. I mean, there was a lot of drama at Iowa because of the way it was playing out with the fuel mileage. And yet at the same time, I don't want to see a fuel mileage race every week.
Definitely don't want to see that every week, but I also don't think we need to see 3 green, white checkers every race. We have a propensity to see an awful lot of those, to the point where they're not as dramatic anymore as they were originally intended to be, because we've all seen a lot of these end of races. It's like, oh, here we go again. It's going to be 3 attempts to try to settle the race. I think we see too many of them, but I agree with you. We don't want to see too much fuel mileage races. We also don't want to see an overabundance of green, white checkers either.
Jeff?
Guys, I mean, every now and then, we want to point out something. Okay. We feel like that it's important that we talk about fuel mileage races. It's important about, too many caution flags. But when you take and boil down the average product that we get, we cannot always control I don't even know where we are right now, 0.00011, second win. You know what I'm saying? We can't always get coming across there 3-4 breasts, but we have enough of those, I think, to keep us coming back, because we want to see the next one coming up. But if you're smart and you enjoy racing the way I think you should anticipate everything from A to Z when they drop the green flag. And that's what part of the game is now. People who race for stage wins, people who are stretching the race, to far as track position at different times and the strategy, and looking at where's the mindset today? What are the crew chiefs and the engineers that really do this stuff for a living? What kind of game are they trying to dictate from the drop of the green flag? And I think part of that makes it really interesting. No different than a football game. Are we're going to run the ball? Are we going to throw the ball? What are we going to do? Short passes, deep passes? I mean, you don't know what the coach is anticipating or what kind of style he's trying to play to make everybody stop him there first and then go to something else. Same thing, I think, in what's going on when some people elect to stay out in a stage and give up the points, or to stay out, or to come in and not worry about points, and other guys are trying to save points. There's a lot of strategy. If you're not paying attention and you wonder what's going on, you got to watch the race when they drop the green flag. Otherwise, you will miss an important decision somewhere early in that race that's affected it at the back.
When we come back, Jeff already called William Byron Mr. Consistency. Can he play Mr. Consistency and get himself a title? We'll talk about that. Stay with us.
This is Kyle Petty for Echo Park Automotive. As you might imagine, I know a thing or two about cars, and I'm here to tell you about a whole new way to buy a car, truck, or SUV. Did you know that Echo Park Automotive has over 95,000 five-star reviews? On top of that, every car that Echo Park Automotive sells goes through a 190-point inspection to make sure that it looks and drives like new, so you leave happy. It's even in their name, Echo Park Automotive. Every car, happy owner. The official used car dealer of Speedway Motorsports.
When it comes to maintaining your engine to run at peak performance, trust Z-Max Micro Lubricant. Z-Max soaks into metal, so it's easy to add to your oil or gas to disperse carbon buildup in your engine, fuel system, and transmission. Protect your vehicle's engine to the max with Z-Max. Check us out at zmax.com or visit us on Facebook and Twitter to find out more about our full line of products. Remember the name Z-Max for your car, big rig, small engines, firearms, and more. That's Z-Max Micro Lubricant.
Catch Kyle Petty's Back Then Again Country Countdown with Charlie and Debbie here on PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Hi, it's PRN's Brad Gilley. Did you know you could take PRN with you anywhere? That's right. By downloading the PRN mobile app, you can listen to our live race broadcast from anywhere. Make sure you don't miss a second of the action from the track. Download today for station listings and on-demand access to your favorite studio shows like Fast Talk, The Pit Reporters, or Garage Pass. Get all the latest racing information at your fingertips with the PRN mobile app. Available in the Apple App Store and on Google Play.
Hey, I'm Corley Joy for Speedway Children's Charities. The mission for Speedway Children's Charities has remained true since its founding almost 40 years ago, to care for children in educational, financial, social, and medical needs in order to help them lead happy and productive lives. So many children have benefited from our group in the past, but we need your help now more than ever. There's so much we can do when we all join together, so let's start today. Visit speedwaycharities.org to learn more. I thank you in advance for your help.
We're back with more of the Pit Reporters on the Performance Racing Network.
And welcome back, along with Bruce Martin from Speed Sport and Jeff Hammond from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Brett McMillan, glad to have you with us. Oh, Bruce talked about it going into the break, that Jeff says that William Byron is Mr. Consistency. You know, he's had a stretch during the summer, basically, which seems to be his MO. He always seems to have this stretch during the summer that he kind of struggles a little bit. He hasn't had great finishes. He's run well, but hasn't had great finishes. But now he lost the points lead to Chase Elliott at Indianapolis after running out of gas. But now all of a sudden he's got the points lead back. He's 16 ahead or 18 ahead of his teammate again. Can this kind of consistency get him a championship?
Definitely, especially if you start off the playoffs with a really good, consistent pace. All you really got to do in the playoffs, survive and advance, just get yourself into the championship race. Then you can throw everything out and go for the victory, because that's what's going to win you the championship. But consistency is what's going to get you to the championship.
Jeff, you talked about it, Mr. Consistency. Can that pay off with a run to the Final Four in the championship?
I think what we see here finishing out the regular season will dictate some of this, because they're tied for third with the most amount of bonus points. You know, they've got their one of their teammates in Kyle Larson, and as well as Denny Hamlin, that have the most amount of points as far as that fallback scenario. And if I know Rudy Fugle like I do, I really believe that's what he's going to be striving for right now. He's got a couple wins, but he really needs to win some more stages. If he can win some more stages, and especially if he can win another race, it's going to kind of like put him at the top of that list and give him that little extra room to breathe. Because I think early on, we're going to figure out who's got the power. I mean, it's really starting to shape up between Denny and Hendrick and Christopher Bell. I mean, I think it's going to wind up being a Joe Gibbs-Hendrick show as far as the playoffs are concerned right now, because I think they all know what they need to do, and I think they'll be really striving to do that. And I said, we talked about Indy. Yeah, he ran out of fuel, but he had a good car. He had what he needed, and that's the thing is you've got to be in contention each and every week, and I think they're doing that pretty well. When you look at the point situation, William Byron, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, what does that tell you? Hendrick's got their act together. Even with Alex Bowman, he's ninth in the points. So that organization knows how to be consistent.
Well, I mean, you look at his stretch that we've had this summer. Pocono, he is 27th. Atlanta, 37th. Gets caught up in something. Chicago, he doesn't even get a run. He finishes dead last with a mechanical problem in his backup car. And so that just is one of those things that happens. Comes back the next week at Sonoma, has a top 10 run, but then, like you talked about, goes to Dover, running well, gets caught up in a wreck where, Christopher Bell spins. He gets taken out. And then at Indy, he runs out of gas. So, I mean, the runs had been there. There had been some success. No telling what would have happened at Chicago, at the street course at Chicago. But, these things happen sometimes.
As long as the runs are there, then eventually the bad luck goes away. Then you're back in business. And I think that's pretty much what we're seeing with him.
You are seeing that. But the other thing about that conversation, or what we're watching here, is how do they respond to the bad stuff. I mean, the thing is, they bounce back. They haven't given up a whole lot. And yes, their teammate came up and passed them and took the lead, for one race or two races, and not a big panic moment. They realize what they've got, some of the bad luck going on, but they have done well enough to have a pretty good cushion to be able to have something like that happen and not find themselves outside the top 10.
Well, and I had a chance to talk to Rudy Fugle in Indianapolis, and we were kind of laughing about, changing luck. I said, you tried getting out of bed on the opposite side or putting on your shoes in a different order, and he kind of laughed. He goes, I'm trying some stuff. But, the thing is, Brucey said, and it's kind of that old tried and true racing thing that we hear so often, but I think it's true, and I think from a mental standpoint it's true, and I'll get Jeff to chime in on this also, but how many times have we heard guys say, Bruce, I've got speed, so I'm really not worried. As long as I have speed, I feel like things are going to happen, that things will turn around.
Performance and execution will eventually equal results.
Well said. And you're exactly right. And, the thing is, in all of this, what should we take away from their struggle? They don't panic. They got right back in there the following week and picked right back up where they should have. There are certain things that are out of a team's control. And I think they're all smart enough to realize, okay, if it ain't broke, we don't need to be panicking and trying to fix something that ain't broke. Now, we got problems. We need to address the problems and get over it. Missing a calculation at Indy, I know it's frustration, and you wound up losing a race that you should have won. That to me, it should be an incentive builder. And I think that what we saw this past weekend. Well, it went overtime too. Yeah, all the things that went into the deal. You can't always say that you made a mistake. It happened. We calculated it to the nth degree. If we don't do this, we win. So when you're having your meeting on Monday, here again, do we push the panic button, or do we realize we're okay? Let's go back next week and do it again. Keep doing it again. What got us here, we can get back on that same track, and we need to get right back to it. And they did that. I mean, they went through some bad moments over the last 3 or 4 races, and yet right now they're coming out of Iowa with a victory.
And we'll see how it plays out, because he could use those 15 bonus points for being number one when we get to the end of the regular season, and that's approaching very quickly. Well, our question this week for the Pit Reporters is, if you go to GoPRN.com, you can vote on this. Who is the best Hendrick driver right now? And Jeff talked about how right now 3 of them are in the top 3 in points. Is it Bowman, Byron, Elliott, or Larson? Last week we asked you how many drivers will make the playoffs on points. And 50% of you said 2. 33% said 3, and 17% said 1. Right now, that number is 3. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay with us.
Are you looking for the cheapest prices on car insurance? Then call the Cheap Car Insurance Hotline right now. Hey, you're guaranteed to save money on your car insurance. Most car insurances can be canceled at any time. That means if you find a better deal, you can switch right away. We're not just one company. We offer most of the major brands of car insurance. We're like a discount supermarket for car insurance. And it doesn't matter if you have a good record or a bad driving record. Our agents are experts at finding you the right car insurance for your needs. Our average customer saves hundreds of dollars a year when they call us to switch. So why don't you make this 100% free call right now and see how much you can save on your car insurance?
800-419-1971. 800-419-1971. 800-419-1971. That's 800-419-1971.
Lenny Baticki brings you PRN at the Track every week here on PRN, the Performance Racing Network. A NASCAR memory with Doug Rice and Kyle Petty.
They established the Hall of Fame. First 2 people that get in, besides your dad, is Bill France Sr. and Bill Jr. Your time behind the wheel overlapped with Bill Jr., didn't
Yes,
it?
for sure. For sure. I was called to the truck many times while Bill Jr. was in there. But you know what? What I remember about Bill Jr. as much as anything was being a kid and him sitting and talking to my dad or talking to my granddad. And Bill Sr. would be in some of those conversations, but you'd sit down at the racetrack and they would talk about where the sport was and where the sport was going. Bill was never satisfied with where the sport was. And that is the one thing that I came to admire about him. At the time, I didn't. At the time, I didn't appreciate it as much. But, you know, I'll never forget we were doing some stuff, and I was driving for Felix, and I was called to the truck, and I was reminded gently by Bill France Jr. that this was his sport. And if I would like to participate in his sport, that I needed to kind of change my ways. And I changed my ways so that I could participate in his sport.
Brett McMillan returns with more of the Pit Reporters here on the Performance Racing Network.
Hey, race fans, head over to echopark.com/speedway and enter for a chance to win a Toyota Tundra plus a brand new Thor camper. Visit echopark.com/speedway now and drive off a winner. Welcome back to the Pit Reporters, along with Jeff Hammond from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and also Bruce Martin from Speed Sport. I'm Brett McMillan. We're glad to have you with us. All right, we're talking about the bubble guys, and it's getting real interesting with 3 races to go, Jeff. Right now in the Cup Series, on both sides of the cut line, we have guys from RFK, which makes it real interesting. Plus 16, or no, sorry, let me get this straight. Pull up the right, I was pulling up the one for the Xfinity, and it's not the RFK drivers.
Easy to do.
Easy
to do that.
So, yeah, but you got Ryan Preece on one side of the cut line, and you've got Chris Buescher on the other side. So it's plus 17 is Buescher, minus 17 is Preece. Right now, Alex Bowman's plus 63, and Tyler Reddick's the one guy that appears like he's going to be okay for now. Kyle Busch is minus 73. Ty Gibbs is minus 77. But it's intriguing. And think about what we've got left with 3 races to go. You've got a road course. Then you've got Richmond. Then you've got Daytona. And I've been listening to these guys for weeks now. Your Reddicks, your Buschers, your Preeces, all these guys have been saying, we got to get a win because I can't feel comfortable going to Daytona feeling like I'm the guy on the cut line and relying on the fact that I can get it on points.
Yeah. It's that silly game again. And your people you were pointing out, I was just looking and doing a little calculation of my own, but this is the kind of stuff that with the races that we have left in front of us, and you start looking at the guys that are on that cut line, even like an AJ Allmendinger. I mean, if they hit it just right, he nails it at Watkins Glen for some reason, it could really upset the apple cart. You turn right around and you realize Kyle Busch, places like Richmond, Kyle Busch is a pretty good race car driver, and you don't always have to have the most aerodynamics as much as you just need somebody who has a feel that's better than the guy you're racing against. And Kyle Busch has that ability. So there's still a lot to be said here. And Ryan Preece, it seems like he's the one that won't go away. I mean, he's always just doing just enough to keep him up there, keep him close, and make him viable by saying that he's running well enough to point himself in. I mean, we're at that point in the year where the by the ways are what's going to give you a nightmare before it's all said and done.
Well, think about Iowa last week, Bruce. I mean, Brad Keselowski came darn close to winning that race, had a great car. He wins the race right now and knocks one of his teammates out.
Well, that was the point you brought up at the beginning of the segment about RFK. They're in a really precarious situation of, in order for me to get in, I got to knock you out. And you just wonder how well that goes over in the Monday meetings like Jeff talks about. Name that jumps out at me, if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that Tyler Reddick would be here in August and be in potential just okay position of making the playoffs, I would have thought, well, that's not going to happen. This kid will probably win 3 races by then. So that's a real surprise, I think, is the fact that at 23-11, Tyler Reddick's not the one ending up in victory lane. Now it's Bubba Wallace with his historic victory at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway that's going to assure himself of the playoffs. So I don't know about you two, but I think the fact that Tyler Reddick is in this position is rather surprising.
I concur. It does surprise me. But the good thing about it is you got Bubba Wallace who's got it locked in, and he was deeper in the hole than what Tyler Reddick is. So here again, we go back to being consistent. If you can be consistent and keep being consistent, what's gotten you here, it might get you there. Once you get there, then you got 10 more times, to keep doing the thing right and eventually win, which again, advances your momentum or whatever. So you got to be positive about that. You bring up what's going on at RFK and same type of scenario. If Brad could score that win, yeah, he knocks his guys out, but they still have a mathematical shot both of them racing their way in. They still are doing that, and they still got to race each other. One of them, may wind up coming up short, but the cool thing about it is if Alex Bowman stumps his toe, I mean, it could be a three-way dogfight real quick. And, this is what really gives us in the media a lot to talk about. And we can throw all the what ifs if you want to, and you can look like you're a genius because there's no way you're rhyme and reason. Unless you win, you're in trouble. And that's the way you got to look at it.
Well, that's the thing. But Bowman right now, he's 63 points to the good, which and Buescher 17 to the good. So I mean, Bowman. I mean, yeah, he could, but he's got to stub his toe pretty big. He's got almost a one race margin.
You got Daytona coming to be that one race.
Yeah,
you have a couple. You have a breakdown or something. But now, as I pointed out, he's the one guy that you don't really want to pick on because everybody else at Hendrick is in. So guess what's happening over there? They are getting all the attention. If there's any part, any car, whatever, engineer that can maybe help them get a victory or make sure that they maintain that consistency, he's the one getting it done. That's the problem with RFK. They ain't nobody really locked in, and they're all racing. So they're having to bring the best stuff they got, throw everything they got at it. There is no way that we can back off with Brad if he has a shot to win. There's no way we can back off with Chris Buescher, and there's no way that Ryan can cut these guys any slack because his neck's on the chopping block just like everybody else. So they're all dog eat dog within one organization, while at Hendrick, everything's looking good.
Well, let me play devil's advocate with something Jeff just said, Bruce, that everything at Hendrick's going on to get Bowman locked into the playoffs. I would maintain that a lot of stuff's going on right now to get Chase Elliott more playoff points. Because right now, even though he's sitting there in second, guy's only got 6 playoff points. So when we reset after Daytona, he's going to be way down the list. Yeah, he's in second right now, which would get him 10 more points. But keep in mind, the guy in first is going to get 15 more. The guy in third is going to get 8 more. And that's going to leave, Elliott sitting there about 8th or 9th in points, or 10th maybe.
Knowing the way Hendrick works, I think they first want to get all 4 in. Then once they do that, then they can focus on the playoff points. But I'll tell you what, I agree with Jeff that Mr. H is looking pretty good this year when it comes to the beginning of the playoffs. So,
and going back to your philosophy real quick, look how many playoff points the 48's got. 0.
Yep.
He's got 0. The other guy's got 6. So even if he makes it in, he ain't going to have a whole lot of doggone insurance, going to take with him. So there's a lot of ways and a lot of people looking at every angle you possibly can. And I think their number one priority would be, it sure would be comforting to get the 48 a win. If we have an opportunity to steal one, or if we can come in here with a better setup and a better effort. And I think part of what you need to always look at, and I do at least, the practices and the qualifying, how everybody does. And here as of late, Hendrick and his group, along with Joe Gibbs, they've been qualifying pretty darn good.
Well, we talked in the last segment about last week's poll, and the fans that voted in the poll think that 2 drivers are going to get in on points, which means we got one more driver, one more new winner this year ahead, according to what they believe. What do you guys believe, Bruce? Do we see one more new winner in the next 3 races?
Well, as far as never having scored a victory?
No, this year.
Oh, this year? Well, Tyler Reddick would be my pick if that was going to come true. I would think he's probably, and Kyle Busch also. But I think it's probably more likely Tyler Reddick would win right now than Kyle.
You think, Jeff, there's just one more new winner?
And I'm like what Bruce is saying. I mean, I think when you look at somebody, here again, 23-11, Bubba's in. If there's anything that's going to be given to somebody to try to push a car into the deal and get them a win, it's got to be Tyler Reddick right now. Everybody else is fighting for those, really the 2 remaining spots that even the fans feel like that are available out there. So we'll see. And I mean, and the bad thing about it, I don't think any of the racetracks that are coming up currently, what you would say were bad for Tyler Reddick. I think that, they have the ability to try to, to pull that off. So I think that's going to be the fun thing, is watching how Alex Bowman and Tyler Reddick handle the remaining races that are on the schedule. And will they have any kind of influence on, the remainder of the season? I mean, the thing is right now, if Alex Bowman, pops a win, all of a sudden he stamps his deal, makes Mr. H happy, but same for Tyler Reddick.
How hard do you think that Reddick, Bowman, and Busher are thinking this week? If I can't win at Watkins Glen, I sure as heck hope that SVG does. Because they don't want Allmendinger or McDowell or one of these other guys way down in points to pick up a win and change that cut line.
Well, that's definitely a dynamic to look at. And as we're talking now about Tyler Reddick and Alex Bowman, now that's the NASCAR bracket challenge we should have had.
There you go. When we come back, we may not be running on the Chicago street course next year, but it looks like we'll still be running, well, close to Chicago. Stay with us.
This is Kyle Petty for Echo Park Automotive. As you might imagine, I know a thing or two about cars, and I'm here to tell you about a whole new way to buy a car, truck, or SUV. Did you know that Echo Park Automotive has over 95,000 five-star reviews? On top of that, every car that Echo Park Automotive sells goes through a 190-point inspection to make sure that it looks and drives like new, so you leave happy. It's even in their name, Echo Park Automotive. Every car, happy owner. The official used car dealer of Speedway Motorsports.
Make your plans now to stay at the South Point Hotel Casino and Spa when NASCAR returns to Las Vegas. They have great race ticket and room packages for you to choose from. The South Point also features a wide variety of excellent dining options at 11 different restaurants. Or you can enjoy the 16-screen movie complex and visit the 64-lane bowling center. Visit southpointcasino.com and make your reservations today. Stay where the racers stay at the South Point Hotel Casino and Spa.
Mark Garrow's your host for Garage Pass, here on PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Here's Christopher Bell.
My Toyota Camry TRD race car isn't cheap to build and prepare. I have a pit crew that maintains and fixes my equipment. I have a spotter high above the track watching my back, talking me through turns and potential dangers on the track. I physically train to handle the stress of driving. And I have software helping my crew chief and engineers make the right strategy calls. And with all this, I never take my eyes off the road, and neither should you. One distraction can change everything in one instant.
Let's get back to more Pit Reporters on the Performance Racing Network.
And welcome back, along with Bruce Barton from Speed Sport, Jeff Hammond from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Brett McMillan, glad to have you with us. All right, we know that we're going to be running a street course of sorts at San Diego next year, Bruce, and not at the Chicago street course, but it sounds like we'll be running back at Chicagoland Speedway, which, there seems to be pretty popular among some of the drivers.
Al's Steakhouse in Joliet. Here we come. Now we know why NASCAR never really sells any of its tracks. When they just put them in the mothballs, they know there'll come a day and time where they might want to bring them back. It's kind of like...
Except Fontana, apparently.
Yes, well, I think Fontana, we've seen the end of that. But it really does seem like if you hold on to your favorite shirt from the 1990s long enough, it'll eventually come back in style. Then you'll look like a trendsetter. I always liked Chicagoland Speedway. I thought it was an excellent facility. I thought it worked very well for both NASCAR and IndyCar, which ran some of the closest races they've ever had up there. And I was really a little bit disappointed when tracks like that fell out of favor with the schedule makers. It's great to see that they can bring it back. And it's also great to see when you see a facility that looks like it's fallen into disrepair. That's not the case at Chicagoland Speedway. It seems like they can get that back up to standards very quickly. When we saw a track that did look like it was in disrepair, it was at North Wilkesboro, and look what's happened there. That's now become back on the schedule in some form, whether it be an all-star race. But I think it's a really good idea to return a 1.5-mile oval.
Can we bring back the Big Orange?
Might as well. And I mean, I think the main thing.
My fondest memory of Chicagoland was the Big Orange.
The Big Orange during qualifying.
Right. That's something that went blowing across the racetrack. It's kind of like, where'd that come from? I don't belong there. But no, never say never in our series. And I like that about the new NASCAR, is that always expect the unexpected. I mean, they may, pull a rabbit out of the hat, or it may not be exactly what you're looking for. But to your point, Bruce, if the racetrack is not just, a filler for the year, that you're going to do something here to make sure we have a good show, I'm all for it. I mean, and I think that's what, when you bring up North Wilkesboro, you bring up Rockingham, those two places. I mean, we all that had grew up in the sport, we love those racetracks. We love the races they put on, and they're in their first time back, in play. They put on some good shows, and they, right now a lot of people are clamoring about, hey, we need to come back there again.
You can't beat a throwback, although I still look at Chicagoland Speedway as being fairly recent. It's less than 30 years old, which only tells me how old I'm getting. But the fact that they're bringing it back is a really good opportunity, and it still keeps them in the metro market area of Chicago. It's not going to have the image appeal that you have of NASCAR stock cars racing on the streets of Chicago against that beautiful city skyline, but it's still in the Chicago market, and that's a heck of a media market to be in. And I think it's very important that they were able to bring it back.
Thoughts about not going back to Mexico next year, Jeff?
They're really kind of like mixed emotions about it, because I know unequivocally that we do have a lot of race fans down there, and we always talk about we need to play to our fans. Our fans are what makes our sport what it is, and I know that NASCAR still would like to have more international opportunities, whether it's in Mexico, Canada, or wherever in Europe. So it's always like those mixed emotions, and I don't know what the future is going to be. I mean, I think a lot of people are saying, if we're going to go down there, we need to go somewhere else besides Mexico City. And I look at them and say, okay, then genius, tell me where. That's all I can say about any of that right there. You need to have a list of where you want NASCAR to go, because I think that there's a lot of people that would take NASCAR at the drop of a hat if the right deal came along.
Well, it sounded, Bruce, that to a large extent there was a scheduling issue, because the teams expressed interest in having a week off on one side or another of the Mexico race next year, if there was to be one next year. And to do that, you would have had to schedule it around Easter, and I guess is the World Cup next year?
Yes,
the World Cup is next year, and Mexico's a part of that, and I guess there's a Mexico F1 race somewhere around there as well. So I mean, there were scheduling issues that I think cropped up as well.
The scheduling issues can also be a very good term to use for logistical issues, because anybody that went down there basically had to live in a bubble. There were a lot of drivers that all of a sudden discovered commercial travel, or maybe not commercial travel, but charter travel. They weren't on their planes. They weren't being able to get back the way that they normally travel. And NASCAR preferred everybody stay in a bubble. I'm not so sure everybody adhered to that advice. And also the fact it's a different environment, a different culture, and you really need to know what you're in for when you're going. I mean, Mexico City is huge. It's one of the largest cities in the world. And if you're somebody that's not used to that, it can create a lot of logistical issues. And I think NASCAR discovered, wow, having these international races isn't as easy as we thought. They looked like they would work out much better on paper. somebody brought up a point about where would you go in Mexico. They did hold races in Monterrey, Mexico for a while, back when CART and Champ Car were in business. And I don't know what the state of that facility is, but the benefit you have of Monterrey is it's not that far over the Texas border. So in some ways, maybe you get a little more tourism that way from people who might say, well, I'll go to Monterrey before I try a city the size of Mexico City.
When we come back, SVG goes for 4 in a row. Can he do it? Stay with us.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of uncertainty lurking under your hood. You know the feeling. I know I do. That sudden sinking sensation when you see a check engine light or your car unexpectedly breaks down and you're faced with sky-high repair bills. It's time to shield against unexpected repairs with CarShield. CarShield is America's most trusted auto protection company and has an A rating with the Better Business Bureau. Don't let the fear of a breakdown keep you up at night. Trust the Shield, CarShield, and say goodbye to terrifying repair bills and hello to peace of mind. Your plan also comes with 24/7 roadside assistance, courtesy towing, rental car options, and so much more. Don't wait till it's too late. Call CarShield now before a breakdown. Protect your wallet. Protect your car with CarShield. Get our best protection ever. Call now. You'll thank me later. 800-859-0047. 800-859-0047. That's 800-859-0047.
Doug Rice is your host for Fast Talk every week on PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Get your NASCAR fix with PRN's Garage Pass.
It's hard to just turn it around in 1 week, but I wouldn't be shocked if we did.
I don't think the results have been what we have hoped for or expected, but I think the potential in the cars and the speed has been pretty good.
It's a big deal already, so that's a big positive for us. So I think now it's just about working together and getting better.
I think the Penske cars are still elite when it comes to plate racing.
Hi, I'm Mark Darrow, tracking the latest racing news every weekday.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right
that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
We're back with more of the Pit Reporters on the Performance Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back. Jeff Hammond's here and Bruce Martin's here, and SVG is going for his 4th straight win on a road/street course. Can he do it, Jeff?
You think I'm going to bet against him? Ain't no way in the world. I mean, the man is... He's the
SVG
best.
Versus the field. Who are you going with?
That's it. I mean, and that's what you got to do until you beat him. I mean, they're showing, number one, that they've got the guy. He's good enough to do it. He can do it in the Xfinity Series. He can do it in the Cup Series. And what's really impressive is the organization itself has stepped up and can produce vehicles for him to drive.
What's amazing about this guy is at the very... I don't know if a lot of people go this far back, but there was a time at Riverside where Dan Gurney would win all the races out there, or Parnelli Jones won a couple of NASCAR races out there. There's just something about that guy and the feel for the car that it's jaw-dropping to see how superior he is over the best drivers in NASCAR when it comes to street and road courses. I really think that this is something that we should really appreciate his talent. At least on that, he's getting better on the ovals. But, man, when it comes to getting behind the wheel of a race car on a street and road course, this guy's one of the best out there.
Well, just remember, though, at Watkins Glen last year, Chris Buescher beat him. So if you're not going to put your money on SVG, who do you put your money on?
Well, at this point in time, I mean, I think there's several people, including Chase Elliott, that I'd be thinking about. Also, a guy named Kyle Larson. Everybody that has raced against SVG, they've gone to school on him. It's not like all of a sudden they say, okay, well, he's the best, and we're going to worry about Martinsville and Richmond and some places like that and just give that to him. Now I think there is enough guys. I mean, let's use the term. He's the rabbit. They're the hungry hounds, and they're looking to run him down and make him pay. And that's the way I look at it. When they get there this weekend, or when we finally get there, he's going to be public enemy number one, and everybody can do their best. If you can do that, if you can take him down, everybody will be talking about you for months to come.
On the right day, AJ Allmendinger could be that guy because he's pretty good on a road course too.
All right, so let's say, just for the sake of argument, SVG wins. That gives him 5 more playoff points at least, assuming he doesn't, and that's assuming he doesn't win a stage. That gives him 22 playoff points going into the playoffs. If he wins a stage or 2 stages, just add 1 or 2 more there. Has he gotten good enough on the ovals that going into the playoffs with 22 or 23 or 24 points, is that good enough? Has he gotten good enough in the ovals that would get him through the first round of the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be more than enough to get him into the round of 12. The key after that is then he's going to have to race for it to get into the round.
But you know what's in the round of 12.
Again, you got a road course in there. So, I mean, the Roval. So what you're saying, and that wasn't what the question was, can he get through the first round? I think he can. I think he's talented enough, and I think we've seen a couple of places, including Indianapolis, that he ran really well. So I think you got to give the guy credit until proven wrong. And I think here's the one thing you got to worry about there is the organization keeping up with what he brings to the table on those styles of racetrack. Can they put a vehicle under him to give him a chance to continue what he's done everywhere else?
Well, your first 3 races, your first round of the playoffs are Darlington, Gateway, and Bristol.
An unusual set of the first 3, by the way.
And he says he loves Darlington.
I could see where he can do well there. I think Darlington is one of those deals where we talk about him and his feel. Darlington is number 1 on my list as far as a field racetrack. And if you can understand you're racing the racetrack, which this guy, you race Chicago the way he does and as tight as it is, hey, that's just good practice for a place like Darlington.
Plus, this is a guy who ran up and down Mount Panorama in Australia throughout his career. So I imagine there's a few turns in there that are pretty tight. And
are you trying to say hit your marks?
Yes,
hit your marks.
Hit your marks.
I mean, but the thing is, if we're talking about if he wins at Watkins Glen, we said 22 points at least. We know he's not going to finish in the top 10, so he's not going to get any additional points for finishing in the top 10. But I would imagine that's going to put him 7th in the points probably. And remember, 12 advance. So I think there's a pretty good shot. To your point, Jeff, if we feel like he's gotten good enough on the ovals, all he has to do is stay out of trouble in the first 3 races.
Yeah, all you got to do is race smart. I mean, and I think here again, he showed a lot of maturity, and I think he's a student of the game. He realizes I am in the best position I may ever be in as far as NASCAR is concerned, because if they change schedules, all of a sudden they could take some of my advantage away. I think he's the kind of guy that could really surprise us, and he will go further than I think maybe you might think right now.
Get him to the Roval.
Definitely get him to the Roval, because he will definitely have an advantage when it comes to that track.
Yeah. I mean, the second round is Loudon, Kansas, and the Roval. Get him to the Roval. The spotlight goes on him, as that's an elimination race. All of a sudden, you may be looking at SVG in the final 8.
It could be. I mean, again, this is the kind of season and the kind of the way it's breaking down is that don't count anything until it happens. When it's done, then you can believe it happened. That's the way I'm looking at this year. I mean, I'm not going to speculate right at the moment just because Hendrick and Joe Gibbs Racing are at the top of the list. I'm not going to give them the final 4 today. I will not do that. But as far as the regular season, they're the powerhouse coming in.
All right, well, we're going to do white flag laps, then we'll be done, and you can believe it happened. Stay with us.
Hey, this is Michael Walter for Echo Park Automotive, and I'm here to tell you why you should shop Echo Park before you buy a car, truck, or SUV. Over half of the inventory at Echo Park is priced below $25,000. And car for car, truck for truck, Echo Park Automotive's pricing is $3,000 less than the competition. Maybe that's why Echo Park has over 100,000 five-star reviews. Echo Park Automotive is built to make sure everyone drives away happy. It's even in their name, Echo Park Automotive. Every car, happy owner. The official used car dealer of Speedway Motorsports.
We work hard to keep our cars looking great on the outside, but engine components need our attention too. That's where you can trust Z-Max Micro Lubricant to disperse carbon buildup in your engine and fuel system. To keep your car or truck running at its peak. By soaking into the metal of your engine, Z-Max Micro Lubricant improves performance, extends engine life, and reduces emissions. Trust the many customers who've said, "Thanks for saving my engine." Find out more at zmax.com or follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
Catch Kyle Petty's Back Then Again Country Countdown with Charlie and Debbie here on PRN, the Performance Racing Network.
Anytime you get somebody at the front of the pack who's not used to running up there and who's not been there, the established names are going to scream. They're going to cry. They're going to whine. Oh, there's somebody else coming up here to get my trophy and get my money. It's Carson Hocevar. What's he doing up here? He had just as much right to get in there and force the issue. And if not for the caution, he's a race winner.
Hey, this is Doug Rice of the Performance Racing Network. That's Fast Talk right here on PRN.
Local radio brings people together like never before.
It's a beautiful hometown weekend out there. We've got
your local stations keep you informed and involved with music, talk shows, and real-time news updates you can trust. We are live and local. We are America's broadcasters, connecting you to what matters most. Text radio to 52886 and tell Congress to support your local radio stations.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to STOP.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
Brett McMillan returns with more of the Pit Reporters here on the Performance Racing Network.
And time now for our white flag laps. And first up from Speed Sport, it's Bruce Martin.
I guess Major League Baseball fans got their true Bristol experience over the weekend with the Speedway Classic. If they call Iowa Speedway the Infield of Dreams, I don't know what they're going to call, what Major League Baseball is going to call the weekend at Bristol. Fantastic idea on paper, but the one thing they didn't factor in is in East Tennessee in August, it happens to rain a lot, and it did. And a lot of those people that were going to be there, over 85,000, were going to see an epic backdrop for a baseball game. Instead, they had no food left at the concession stands. They had to choose between bunless hot dogs or dry nacho chips. It's really a shame because that was a moment where NASCAR and Major League Baseball could have benefited off of each other, but instead we have baseball fans complaining about how long the traffic was getting in and out of Bristol, and it's like, welcome to NASCAR, folks. It's like that twice a year when NASCAR arrives at Bristol, but I don't think they'll get another chance to do anything like that, but it would have been great to have seen what it would have been like if it had gone off as planned.
And next up from SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, about 45 seconds for Jeff Hammond.
Well, the way I'm looking at it, folks, we only got 3 races to go before the regular season's over with. Well, guess what? These could wind up being 3 of the most exciting races that we have. And guess what's right around the corner? The playoffs. And they're going to be a barn burner. I promise you that.
I hear you. Well, I think we talked about it earlier. The 3 guys who are sitting there with no wins, sitting in the playoffs right now, they are all going to be, if they can't win this week, huge SVG fans. The last thing they need to see is one of these other guys from below the cut line pick up a win. They want SVG to pick up another win on a road course because they don't want to see that cut line move not one space. Guys, thanks a lot for being with us. Bruce, Jeff, enjoyed it. We'll talk to you next week on The Pit Reporters.
Join us again next week for the Pit Reporters on PRN, the Performance Racing Network.